guys through the whole process, explain to you how we get the water, what we add to the water to remove some of the contaminants. And then at the end of this tour, we're going to take you to one of the wells so you can see, well, we have different wells over here, but this is just, all you're going to see is a pump. We're going to take you to one that you're going to see the water, you're going to see everything, and then you're going to have a better idea of what is a well. This is what we call the chemical building. And we call it chemical building because this is where we store most of the chemicals that we use. We use coagulants, and we'll explain what each chemical does when we get up there. But we have the coagulant, and then we have lime. Coagulant is to make particles bigger, and the lime is to increase the pH of the water. The pH of the water here is very low. It's about 4. We really need a pH of 7 to make the water potable. But by adding lime, we can increase the pH of the water. And that will help us in the process of the treatment. So we're going to go upstairs and we'll show you what each chemical does and how much we add to the water, okay? These are the lime silos. Each one holds about 20 tons? 20 tons of lime, each one of them. And like I said before, the lime is added to the water just to increase the pH of the water. The groundwater is, the pH is very low. We have different wells over here, and the different wells, they have different pH. So we have to watch and see which water we're using in which clarifier so we can adjust the pH accordingly. Okay, we're gonna go to see the clarifiers. When we go up the stairs over here, you're gonna smell like rotten egg. That's one of the volatile organic that we remove. That's called hydrogen sulfide. That's natural in the water, but with aeration, we can get rid of that contaminant. Okay. These are called clarifiers. This is when the water comes from the ground to the aerators, we remove the hydrogen sulfide. From there, the water is split into these 2 clarifiers. We have different wells, different clarifiers. Over here, we add the chemicals. We add the coagulant. The coagulant, if you look inside the tank, you see small particles. That coagulant, what it does is take those small particles and get them together so they can get heavier, and then it's sunk to the bottom. Those particles are iron. That's the iron in the water. And that's what we have to remove from the water. Once that iron is removed, it goes to these lagoons over here. And from here, all that sludge is pumped to what we call the drying bed. If you look on the other side of those bushes, the trees, you see people working over there. That mud that you see over there, that's iron. That's what we take out of the water. The water that goes there, because we pump the water and the sludge to those drying beds, that water comes back to the other lagoon, and we recycle that. We don't waste any water here. We recycle everything. Each tank holds 2 million gallons of water. There's 2 million here, 2 million there, and 2 million on the other 2. Once we remove that, then it goes to filtration, and we're gonna see that later. The water, you see these troughs over here? That's where the clear water goes into it, and then from here it goes to the filters. This is what we call clarification, because these are clarifiers.
This is basically the final stage after our pre-treatment at the clarifiers. The water goes over the weirs, goes through a set of piping, and comes under this garage bay into the filter bay. First, and from that point, it gets pumped from the wet well into the filters for filtration, and then it gets After that, it leaves the plant, and then there's sodium hypochlorite, which is added as post-chlorination treatment. So it's, everybody could walk in through this way and get to see the filters. Once again, this is the final process. If you look inside here, this is the wet well. All this water is coming from all four of those clarifiers you guys were just on top of. From this point, it gets pumped from these high-lift pumps in through all 8 filters. If the water goes through filtration, it comes into a main header pipe, and then leaves the plant. The raw water that gets pumped from the well gets pushed in. There's 2 parts of a filter, cell A, cell B. Water goes through, comes out to the bottom. You can see it here. Comes out to the bottom and goes through your effluent valve. During this process, we measure for turbidity. Turbidity is a particle that can hide cryptosporidium, giardia, so we gotta meet a certain state requirement, and basically this gets monitored every 15 minutes, every hour, 24 hours a day. These filters can process about 1 million gallons of water a day. Right now we're doing about 5.6, 5.7 million. We usually run the filters anywhere between, say, 50 and 70 hours of runtime on each filter. Our biggest, during our criteria for backwashing is basically hours. We run them off hours, but the biggest thing is the turbidity. If our turbidity starts getting higher, then we take the filter offline and backwash it. During the backwash process, we use close to 30,000 gallons of water, which comes from that tank out in the back. And the water comes in from that tank and basically does it backwards, where it goes in from the bottom and then pushes out from the top. It comes through these headers, goes out into a collection system where it goes into those 2 lagoons that you guys see in the back, where the sludge settles. And from that point, the clean water decants over to the pond on the right, where it goes back to the head of the plant to be retreated. So it's a recycling process. Once the filter goes back in service, there's what's called a return to waste. The influent valves open up and we run the water for about 3 minutes to reduce the turbidity before we put it into the system. And actually you're standing on top of the whole header. All 8 of these filters go into one main header pipe and leave the plant here, where right outside the door we add the sodium hypochlorite for post-chlorination. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the turbidity meters.
Yeah, so we have to monitor for turbidity, and that's what these analyzers are. So these are constantly running, and like Richie was saying, every 15 minutes it takes a reading. So we're able to see the turbidity, meaning how turbid the water is, how cloudy it is. Regulations by the state is we have to produce a certain amount of turbidity leaving the plant, or else that's a violation. So we constantly have to monitor it, and that's how we do it is with the online analyzers. So I'm going to pick up at what it looks like is that inside there's a vial, and there's an actual laser that runs through the vial that looks for the transparency of the water. So this is what they look like. And if you see this is our water, our finished water, before it goes out the door. And now we take it from that water that you saw in the clarifiers to this. So this is actually analyzing this every 15 minutes. Along with the turbidity, there's other regulations that we have to look out for in Perth Amboy to make sure that when the water gets to you, it's completely safe. So that's how we go through our process here. We test our water hourly. We actually go up to the clarifiers, sample it, look at it, test it for chlorine, iron, turbidities. We sample for E. coli, total chloroform. We sample our water. We oversample it to make sure that when it gets to you guys, we did our job here. So this is where the filtration is very important, because we could do all that, but we have to actually get it out the door. And that's where this process comes in, is filtration is super important. Then right when it goes out the door, we hit it again with chlorine just to make sure by the time that it gets to Perth Amboy from here, we meet our contact time, which is so that there is no bacteria possible.
The better pre-treatment we get on the clarifiers is it makes it a lot easier for the filters to work. We can get longer running hours. If we get good pre-treatment, good flock blankets, then that does 80% of the removal. The better we get, it's a lot easier on the filtration.
Right.
You guys add fluoride to the water?
We did it one time. It was
No
nothing.
longer?
Any other questions?
I mean, from looking at it, it does not look clean.
So the water that's below you right here is actually just runoff from the condensation of the pipes. It's not water that you're going to drink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's a good observation.
Okay.
You have a question?
So when we were up there walking around looking at those two massive tanks, why was it made out of this?
Why was it made out of this?
Yeah, like why was that block using this kind of thing?
Oh, okay, so we have to have the ability to be able to look through it. And if there's any repairs that have to be made, we're going to have to remove that. So it's a lot easier than if it was a solid floor. But that's a good question. It's asking why that we have these up there on the clarifier.
It's for access,
access.
access for repairs.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much why.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Gas in the tanks, what were those for?
Gas.
Yeah, like
Oh, okay, so the weirs.
yeah.
So when you have the clarifier and you have the water that's getting mixed in that chamber in the middle, the solids settle out to the bottom and the clear comes to the top. And as it goes into, they're called weirs, that's the clean water separating from the water on the sludge, which is the iron. So it's separating it, and then it goes into the weirs, comes down a pipe, and then comes here to get filtered.
Oh, so since iron has a high density, it goes all the way to the bottom.
Remember when you were in that chemical building
Yes.
and you saw the coagulant?
Yes.
That mixed with the process of the rapid mixing in the mixing chamber, it's called flocculation, makes a flock. And then what it does is that it pulls the particles together and then it settles. And then the water, the clean water, rises to the top. And then that's what goes into the filters.
And then we have clean water.
And then you have water that's ready to be filtered.
Understand.
Yep. That's a good question.
What happens to like solid material?
So the solid material,
Like sludge?
yeah. So on the bottom of the clarifiers, we have scrapers that constantly keep moving it. And then depending on what our settings are, we have blow-offs. And what that does is that it alleviates some of the sludge and it goes out into those
Backwash
the
lagoons.
backwash lagoons, settles to the bottom, the clear water rises to the top, decants over to the recycle pond. The clean water goes into the plant process again to be recycled, and then that sludge gets pumped over out into the drying beds for removal and waste that we have to have trucks and that come in and actually take the solids away, and we pay.
What do they do with it?
They take it to the landfill and use it for spread. So we're
Use it-
helping give back, I guess. It's
Cover material at the landfill.
cover material. Yeah, nothing gets wasted. All the water that goes through that we don't use goes back around again. We'll use it the next time. And everything else.
Sludge, could that be used for fertilizer?
Being that it has the high iron content, I guess you could use it as fertilizer, but then you're staining your hands and gloves and whatever else.
What do you guys do with the water below us? Like, does it reach all the way up to the top? Like, you know how it keeps flowing?
Water, like what do you mean? There's
Like this water, right? What do you do with it?
so there's no water on the bottom. That's just runoff. That's just runoff from when the water's colder and then the air is warmer, the pipes sweat. So you're getting some kind of dripping from the bottom being colder, but there's no water. There's just pipes.
Oh, there's just
That's just
Yeah.
that's a concrete floor.
That's
and
wet.
It's all iron, cast iron pipe, and ductile pipe
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
That's
that's just the floor.
That's just
This
the
is
floor
all-
that
I really thought it was water.
but that's a good question because from here I can see where you would kind of think it does look like water. The only water we have is in the wet well up front. This could be water from pipes like sweating, like I was saying, or any kind of condensation.
the well with the yellow railing around it. That's all the water from the clarifiers. The clarifier effluent weirs, the clarifier water goes in there and comes to that point there where it gets pumped.
The gaps we're talking about, when that water goes in those gaps, goes into the wet well. Any other questions? I guess they're ready to taste them.
At this point, we're going to walk in through our operator's office. This is where we perform all our water testing of the final water, the POE water, and the pre-clarification water. This is also where we control, the plant for backwashing through our SCADA system. The SCADA system tells us our levels in town, pressures in town. We base our production from this facility solely off of, of the reservoir in town, the 40 million gallon storage tank. I don't know if you're familiar where that is. When that reservoir reaches a certain elevation, we increase production here to get the level back up. When it gets to a certain height and elevation, we cut backflow here. And then that's basically how our operation works here. But we have a SCADA computer which controls all that, and the operator, we have somebody here 24/7, and they monitor the SCADA for system pressures and everything, and you can control the plant from that. And I could also show you where the sodium hypochlorite pumps are, the chlorine pumps, because all four of the clarifiers get chlorine, and the final is right out in the yard where it gets injected. But that's also the chlorine pump room. We'll take you right by there also. So if we come this way, I can show you.
So as I was saying, our operator, every hour, when they go up to the clarifiers, they're able to observe, right? They're able to actually look at the water, but we also have to come down here and we have to take what we call grab samples. So what we do when we do that every hour is we'll sample for pH, we'll sample for chlorine and see the residual of the water. We'll test for iron. We'll test for turbidity to see how turbid the water is. And then we'll test for UV. UV spectrometers, it's basically seeing how light passes through the water. It's measuring an absorption of light. So we test a lot and frequently. And this is going to determine the next phase that the operator takes to make chemical adjustments or treatment adjustments that they think will better the water production, and to get because that's the goal, is to get the best water quality possible. And if we keep testing it, we'll be able to pretty much pinpoint where it's getting the best quality possible. Mike's the operator.
Hi, Howard. Sorry, I was just.
Say hi, Mike.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Thanks for coming by.
Show me your
I
sample.
was just up there. You guys were all on top of the clarifiers before. After that, I was just going up there. I was getting my samples. We go up hourly, so we test for chlorine, the pH levels. turbidity and whatnot. So, you know, what's in the mixing chambers before it goes out into the clarifier itself. So that's basically what I'm doing right now. So I'll be doing all my testing right now, doing my samples.
You get to kind of see a little bit of it.
Sorry, I ran.
Every hour they're going up for samples. So every hour, 24/7. Somebody's
Yeah.
watching.
Somebody's here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are no days off.
No such thing as
Christmas, no such thing.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
everybody's here.
Every minute of every day, every year, there's someone sitting in this chair making sure that the water that leaves here is perfect.
Christian, you want to mention that in addition to all this, we have a private lab that comes over here and take additional
Yeah.
samples.
Like Louis just said, we have a private lab. We have a contract with Agra Labs. That's our lab for every year. It could change. But this year it's for Agra. We have a lot of state regulations, not just here with what we're testing for, but that also is what is required of us as a city, as a population, of how many, and Louis being a licensed operator every month, when he does his reporting to the state, he has to verify that the water that is going out is safe. So how we do that is we sample with our outside lab for probably over 120 contaminants. That, along with every week we take bacteria samples from locations around Perth Amboy in our distribution system. We test all sorts of chemicals. We test for all sorts of metals, VOCs, THMs, PFCs. There's a lot of things that happen to the groundwater that's out of our control that we have to monitor. A lot of it is from factories and chemicals that they put in the ground, and it's our job to not identify it, but monitor it if it's something that's known to us.
This is called the Rainy Well. This is one of our bigger water producers as far as wells go. It's called the Rainy Well. It's a different type of design. This is a concrete caisson that goes down about 70 feet, and branching outward, there's 5 laterals, 12-inch pipes with screen that go out about 200 to 300 feet out. The reservoir around us recharges that groundwater that we pull from inside this building. They use this for the Rainy design for higher production wells, usually 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million gallons. You'll see these a lot out west by high-flowing rivers, recharges. From this point, this is one of the sources that goes from here all the way back to the plant. From the first part you guys seen, where that hydrogen sulfide smell came from, that's the first point of entry from the wells. This is just, we took you out to see this one because this is the higher production one and the beautiful scenery around. If you go inside one at a time, we could just get everybody in there. Right now we're running 2.5 million gallons a day out of this to our plant, and the rest is being made up by the other wells, the other source on the other side. Basically, right underneath us is the concrete caisson that goes down. Actually, when you're leaving and you look down in the meter pit, you can see the curvature of the concrete caisson. That's what goes down every bit of 70 feet. These 3 different pumps pull the water from that caisson and send it to the plant to be treated. This one's a 2 million gallon a day pump, and these 2 are both 4 million gallon a day pumps. So right now we have this throttled back a little bit. So we're getting about 2.5 million gallons a day from this well. Right now from this point, this is 37 feet down is it's actually called dynamic water level. When you're dealing with wells, static water level is a well that's not in service. That's a static groundwater level. When a well's in service, it's called dynamic level. And right now we're pulling 2.5 million gallons a day out of this, maintaining that level.
Hi, I'm Gabriela Almanzar. I'm a junior at Academy for Urban Leadership Charter School. And I'm at Runyon Watershed in Old Bridge for the Perth Amboy Water Company.
So tell me about your experience here. What did you learn today?
I learned about how water gets cleaned and transported to Perth Amboy, and the process and how much hard work it takes for the cleaning and how much care these workers put into making sure that we receive the best water possible to clean our bodies and just the best quality we can to make sure we're safe.
What was your favorite part about this trip?
My favorite part was learning about the pH and how it was tested. The fact that it's tested every hour is a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work, and that takes a lot of responsibility knowing that they have so much care in us to go and do every single hour how much pH, the turbidity, the oxygen inside the water. It takes a lot of hard work.
Now that you've learned all of this, do you think that you'll be more of a water advocate, that you're going to get more involved in water? Or?
Definitely. I'm actually already trying to get into the green team, so I have the interest of environment and all of that. And the fact that 5 million gallons of water a day in Amboy, that's a huge amount that it could be wasteful for a lot of it. So I think we need to educate ourselves more into the conservation of water and all of that.
That's excellent.
Thank
I think
you.
that's it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Perez. I am a sophomore in AUL. Today I learned some interesting things that changed my mindset about water.
Tell me, do you feel that from your experience today that a lot of work goes into cleaning Perth Amboy water?
I'm actually proud of, having people that clean our water, because I now realize how much I depend on them for just clean water, and just how hard and difficult and complex the process is of cleaning water. I am going to start saving water more, and taking in mindset that not a lot of people have much water, so anything I can do or anything I can help with, I will. And yeah, I would definitely start saving more water from now on.
If you were to encourage, if you wanted to help a young student understand more about water, what would you say to them after this experience?
I'd first start how different chemicals like lime and chlorine are mixed into the water to help clean the iron and the bacteria that may be there, and the filtering systems.
My name is Saad Syed. I teach at the Academy for Urban Leadership Charter High School, and I teach biology and healthcare classes.
So describe what you experienced today.
Today, it was a wonderful experience. It's a beautiful spring day, and we got to learn how we clean our water, filter our water, and provide clean drinking water to our community. I think this was a very valuable experience for our students because we take water for granted, really. And worldwide, there's so many water shortages, and we don't realize that there's a whole process involved in providing clean drinking water so that the community is always safe. There's no contaminants, there's no bacteria, and what we're providing to our families is actually water that's beneficial to our health and builds a stronger, well-balanced community.
This experience also of working in partnership with the city, how do you think it impacts your students?
Oh, this was a great experience. Not only to provide good role modeling for our students, but to help get the community involved, to have our students get an understanding of what it takes to have a well-functioning community, and hopefully this gives them experience on developing their careers and getting more involved in the community to make Perth Amboy a better community to live in.